Welcome. How you guys doing? Starting a little bit early today. Uh, got a lot to get through. Got a lot to do. And I still would like to get to bed at a decent hour. It is it's Yumacon weekend. So let's get this done. We got a lot to discuss. We got crown jewel predictions to do. We're going to talk about SmackDown getting canceled off of Fox because Fox put out the reason why. Then we're gonna talk about Ric Flair's AEW deal. What's going on with that? Then we're gonna talk about Damian Priest and Sami Zayn being the lowest rated Raw main event of all time. And we're gonna talk about some UFC payouts because their lawsuit is really bringing out some very interesting information. So we know how much CM Punk was paid for his first fight in the UFC, and we know how much Ronda Rousey made over a short period of time in UFC, being a big draw, and some interesting things that was in her contract. So we got a lot to discuss. Welcome to 3Com Commentaries. This is your host, and I had an interesting conversation with Jim Valley on Twitter. Not gonna, beat him up too much. He works for Dave Meltzer. I mean, what can you do? But ultimately, the interesting bit between me and Jim Valley was the idea that there was an unreasonable expectation when it comes to WWE and Fox. We'll talk about that later. We want to do Crown Jewel first. I kind of want to ebb and flow a little bit. We talk about business first. We talk about the show first, kayfabe, storylines, what everybody cares about. Then we talk a little bit about business, the business behind the business. Then we talk about the show again because we're going to talk about Sami Zayn. Then we're going to talk about some interesting other business before we close out. So it's not just going to be like super business heavy, and it's just going to be like a mixture of both. So again, welcome everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. This is MagMongoSlade. I am here at 7 o'clock. It's a matinee version of the show. Because it's before 8 o'clock. So there's going to be 9 matches in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, November the 4th, in the middle of the damn day. 9 matches. Well, 8 matches. Sorry, I thought it was 9 plus the kickoff match, but the kickoff match is what makes it 8. So we're gonna start with the kickoff match: Sami Zayn versus JD McDonough. I don't know why this match needs to happen. In my book, it doesn't need to happen. Didn't they just wrestle like 2 or 3 weeks ago? I feel like these guys just worked against each other, and now here it is again. If you want to know why Sami Zayn versus Damian Priest was the least watched match in WWE history, I'm talking about WWE Raw history, it's because of stuff like this. The repeated booking of these same guys over and over again it's like a crippled version of the SmackDown 6. SmackDown 6 was all about these 6 guys that Paul Heyman really, really liked. And it was routine iterations of these 6 guys, but they were still doing stuff that was very entertaining. It was very good stuff. On Raw, it's all very dry. It's all busted. Most of it is not very good. And the Judgment Day consists of 4 people, 3 of whom have wrestled Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, etc. ad nauseum since at least May. It's been going on for like legit 4 or 5 months. I know that May was 6 months ago, but it feels like it, bro. It feels like they've been going in some variation for months and months and months. Creatively, the show was incredibly stagnant. And bringing Sami Zayn all the way to Saudi Arabia just so he can wrestle JD McDonough is a waste of time. It's a waste of time, waste of energy. It's a waste of a flight, if we're being honest. What's the point in him flying way over there? Just to wrestle a guy he could wrestle on Raw. it's foolish to say the least. Sami Zayn is going to win. He's Muslim. Somebody has to be. There's no other Muslims on this roster right now. They fired the only other Muslim, or they fired the two only other Muslims, and that being Mansoor and Mustafa Ali. So there's and Aaliyah. She's also a Muslim. They fired her too. So there's only one Muslim on this entire roster. So that's why Sami Zayn's going. He's the only Muslim still on the roster that I know of, unless secretly there's some other secret Islamist on the roster. I'm not saying it's like a bad thing though. I'm just using that because I got tired of saying the word Muslim. So the only reason Sami Zayn is even going over there is because he's a Muslim, and they want to have a Muslim on the show. And you know what? I'm not mad at that, but it ain't great. It ain't a great idea. It really ain't. But he's going to defeat. He's going to defeat this guy. It's pretty dumb. Okay, Seth freaking Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. Oh, brother. In my book, Drew McIntyre should win this match. Seth Rollins, I don't think, is going anywhere with this run. It doesn't seem to have a purpose. It doesn't seem to have a focus. It seems to just be he's beating, I don't want to say monsters of the week, but that's kind of how it feels. Like here comes a new challenger, and then he beats them, and then what? Nothing. It doesn't really. It's hard to describe, but it feels like when Shawn Michaels was champion the first time. I don't know how old some of you guys are, but when Shawn was champion in 1996, it just felt like Shawn was unbeatable. Nobody was going to beat him. And everybody was just a monster of the week. That's why I didn't draw, by the way. A lot of people are like, Shawn couldn't draw. It's like, look what he was doing. Look at the creative of the time. Shawn is undersized, and everybody he's wrestling is bigger than he is, including the British Bulldog. And they're not coming up with any gripping creative to make him interesting. Instead, it's just placating his ego. It was just wanting to make sure everybody knew Shawn was on top. So Shawn got to go over Diesel, who was his best bud. Then he wrestled Mankind, didn't pin him. Wait, he wrestled Bulldog next, because he wrestled Bulldog in May and June. So he stretched 2 months there when he was wrestling Bulldog, which, not to attack the British Bulldog, but Bulldog wasn't a solidified main event talent. Let's put it like that. And then the storyline was, you look at my wife. You're flirting with my wife. It's like, then we all saw Diana, and it was kind of like, But that's kind of how Seth Rollins' title run feels. It feels like a Shawn Michaels 96 title run, where any threat that comes across only comes across a little bit like a threat. Not like a major, this is possibly going to happen. So at this point, either Drew McIntyre is about to be Vader or he's about to be Sid. All right. Now, we all know, with the benefit of hindsight, that Vader was supposed to win the WWF Championship in 1996. He was going to beat Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam. Then he was going to be the champion until the Royal Rumble. That was the plan. That's why they had a pay-per-view called It's Time, because that was part of Vader's thing. So either they're about to pull a Vader with Drew McIntyre, and he's going to be the guy that's going to break this title run. And once he wins, once Seth Rollins beats him, people are going to officially be sick of it, not want to talk about it anymore, and be like, we're done with this Seth Rollins thing. Or they can go Psycho Sid with it and have Drew McIntyre destroy Seth Rollins and take the title from him. But unlike Sid, hopefully he doesn't drop it back. You got to break this up. There needs to be more threats to the Seth Rollins thing. Again, he feels like the fourth most important person on this show. Gunther is certainly more important than he is. And Gunther is, apparently having a bigger audience than Seth Rollins. Like, I've seen that Gunther and The Miz drew the biggest rating on this really dour, poorly rated episode of Monday Night Raw. And the highest rated segment was Gunther talking to Miz, not wrestling, talking to Miz. And Seth Rollins is the world champion. Seth Rollins is the main event guy. But Judgment Day is in the main event. And Gunther is in the highest rated segment. But Seth Rollins is the world champion. It doesn't feel right. You got to put the belt on Drew. It's probably going to be wrong. They're probably going to go the boring route, and Drew's going to lose. But in my book, you got to go with The Miz. You got to go with Drew McIntyre. So it really doesn't make much sense. Go ahead and put the belt on Drew. Next, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Raquel Rodriguez. 5-way match for the women's world title. This is going to be the jump to shark moment for Rhea Ripley. Now, in a positive note, this is the kind of match Rhea Ripley is probably going to win because individually, most of these people are not a threat, except for Nia Jax. All right? She's already wrestled Raquel Rodriguez and won. I think it was some outside interference. Zoe Stark is not a threat. Shayna Baszler is not a threat. So I wouldn't concern myself with that too much. The real threat is going to be on the other side. Once Rhea Ripley gets through this match, they're probably going to start that thing between her and Becky Lynch. And that's when Rhea Ripley is going to really feel like a top star. At least that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking Rhea Ripley's certainly going to win this match. Now, this is an excuse to take the belt from Rhea Ripley if you wanted to. Because you could have her lose the belt without getting beat. But doing that will just absolutely kill everything you're doing with Rhea Ripley. So she needs to win. This is like the girls' version of the Monsters Ball. That's what they've been building to. And that's my idea. My idea is that Rhea Ripley is going to win. And then Monday, they're going to start her thing with Becky Lynch. And that's really what's going to be going forward. Is Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Because Becky Lynch has come out and said too many times, taking shots at Rhea Ripley. So we're going to go with Rhea Ripley. It really doesn't make any sense for anybody else to win. But I really would be interested in a smart tier segment if Nia Jax won. If Nia Jax won, let's say she pinned like Zoe Stark or Shayna Baszler, and then the internet, imploded upon itself. Oh, I think we'd have a lot of fun with that. I think we had a lot of fun with that. I know I'll have a ball. But I don't want to put that in the universe. I already did, but I don't want to put that in the universe. All right. Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul for the United States Championship. To me, Logan Paul needs to win. Rey doesn't need the title. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anyway, if we're being honest. The idea that they were doing something with Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, where they was kind of trying to break up the LWO or cause some tension between the LWO. And then this Logan Paul thing came out of nowhere. And now everybody is like, Logan Paul should win, myself included. Because you're slow rolling this LWO storyline. It's taken forever. They've been slowly breaking up for like 2 months. All right. Then they dropped Carlito on us to try to keep it interesting. But at the same time, this thing is slowly breaking up. And I think you got to go ahead and do it. If you're not going to do it now, then you're just not going to do it. So I need to go ahead and give the belt to Logan Paul. Now, this is an interesting thing here. AJ3 says if Logan wins, you got an absentee champion. Well, the belt's basically absent already, isn't it? How many title defenses has Rey Mysterio had since he won it? He wrestled Santos Escobar and who else? And who else? It's already basically absentee. You know? The difference being Logan Paul is I'm not going to say a bigger star. I was about to make a mistake. I was about to misspeak. He is more interesting as a champion than Rey Mysterio right now. Rey Mysterio has a storyline with the LWO in which he doesn't need the title for that. You know? And plus, if Rey drops the belt, you could have Santos Escobar pursue the title, or you could have him be angry at Rey for accepting accepting Logan Paul's challenge and not his. So then you could have a catalyst to break up the story or a catalyst to forward the story. You know, I know it sucks because it basically just did the same thing with Xia Li, where they had her constantly following Becky Lynch, asking for title matches, and then Becky lost the belt. But now Xia Li still wants to fight, which is stupid. Like, she was chasing the title. Why in the world is now all of a sudden she wants to fight Becky Lynch? It's kind of goofy. But Santos Escobar can easily say, you know, I was supposed to be next in line. I was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to be next. And then you overlooked me and you gave a shot to this guy and then you lost to him. You know? And then since they're supposed to be friends, as a matter of fact, it's even bigger than that because Rey Mysterio is supposed to be Santos Escobar's mentor. You could do something a little bit better with that if Rey lost. Now, with the title, yes, Logan Paul can take the belt and disappear. I don't care. I don't care about the fuck about that belt. I'm not even going to hold you up. I don't care about that belt. You're not defending it anyway. You don't use it anyway. But if Roman's not going to be around for much longer, which is what I'm hearing that Roman is not going to be around much. The U.S. title could fill in. You can use Logan. I'm not saying Logan Paul is a bigger star as Roman Reigns. I'm saying that you can look at Logan Paul and you could fill Roman's role with Logan Paul, at least for the short term. All right, at least for the short term. He can have some really good feuds. He can have some fun feuds. You know, he's got some unfinished business with guys like Kevin Owens, even though I don't like Kevin Owens. There's some other people there that he has not worked with, that he could work with. There's some fresh ideas that you could do there with Logan Paul. And he does not need to be there every week in order to do that stuff either. I personally would probably put Logan Paul in a stable with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And they could be his on-screen representatives when he's not there. Kind of like his version of the Usos. You know, they could all be like, these are three guys who hang out. They all like douchebags, right? And he could transfer his heat to them. And they can represent him when he's not there. If there was some way to do that, I would do that. In fact, there is a 100% a way to do that. Rey Mysterio comes out there with the LWO. You know, they have the match. And then Austin Theory and Grayson Waller come out there. They attack Cruz del Toro and all these other guys, and then they help Logan Paul win. Then they announce that they're a trio. They're good buddies. They're best friends. They shoot a couple of vignettes together. And they could work off of Logan Paul's heat as being some of the top heels on the show. I would think that would be a good idea. Whenever you have characters that are this similar, that's what I would go with. You know, I would go with that. And it sounds like Logan Paul is going to be on both Raw and SmackDown. And if that's going to be the case, he's probably still going to be feuding with Ricochet, or he could do something with Ricochet. You just have a lot of options when you got the belt on Logan Paul. Because they've already decided they're not doing anything with Rey. And no matter how bad you thought, I mean, as a matter of fact, it was bad when Austin Theory was the champion. You know, he wasn't doing anything then. It was so unfortunate. They've been booking the U.S. belt like crap for a long time. Humble 85 says Logan Paul advertised the belt when he's doing boxing and all these other things. Correct. And people won't even, people who are not wrestling fans won't even know it's a mid-card belt, if we being honest. If Logan Paul talks about it enough, has it on his podcast, doing all this stuff with it, people will forget that it's a mid-card belt. People will find him to be probably one of the top champions. They think he's a fucking world champion. I mean, look at what they're doing with Gunther on Raw. People forget that Seth Rollins is the world champion because Gunther is having more interest in matches. He's having more interest in feuds. He's keeping the belt visible. Logan Paul can do the same thing for the U.S. title. It'll be a little bit different, of course, but it'll be more of the same. So I would put the belt on Logan Paul. He's had enough matches where it's not like David Arquette. He's put on some legitimate, main event matches. He can perform. He's dedicated to doing this. I would go with Logan Paul. I don't see why not. All right, next. Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. This feels like it's going to open the show. This is literally a match for no reason. What are we looking to get out of this Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest thing? What's going to be gained from this? Cody Rhodes wins, then what? Damian Priest wins, then what? If you have Damian Priest cash in the Money in the Bank, that would be the only way that this would make sense. If they pull a Seth Rollins where Cody beats Damian Priest in the first match, only for Damian Priest to cash in on Seth Rollins later, that would make sense. I don't like it, but at least that would make sense to why Damian Priest flew all the way to Saudi Arabia to have a match that he could have had on Raw. Again, this is a match you could have on Raw. These guys have been wrestling for months. I'm pretty sure these guys have already had a singles match too. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty sure. So I'm not fully bought in. Cody Rhodes is going to win because Cody Rhodes has no business losing a singles match to Damian Priest. This match is literally for nothing. This match is for no reason. It literally is for no reason. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, this is interesting. Right now, you've got a lot of dirt sheets arguing back and forth about whether Kyrie has re-signed to WWE and what she will be doing. Now, most people, some very intelligent people, think that Kyrie is probably going to be brought in to be partners with Asuka, which makes a 100% sense, to reform the Kabuki Warriors. Other people think you bring in Kyrie to feud with Io. Okay, that's workable. Despite the fact that I think Bianca Belair is the bigger star, despite the fact that I think it would be goofy for Bianca Belair to lose to somebody who's literally like a quarter of her size, I do believe that Io Sky is going to win this match. Io is a tremendous performer. She's good enough that she's not going to bury Bianca in winning. So I believe that Io will win. But I do think she's going to need some help. Now, they're going to have Bianca wrestle Bayley apparently on SmackDown. I don't know. Don't get me the line. I have no idea. I've heard that. I was wrong on the spoilers before, so I don't know. That being said, it's probably going to be Dakota Kai or someone else coming out to help Io win. It's the only way that it makes sense. You have to divert Bianca Belair somehow because she can't lose clean. I mean, Bianca has a Superman character, so her losing clean, especially in her prime, is likely not going to happen. Not to Io anyway. You know, I was surprised they did what they did with Becky Lynch. So I do think Io will win, but I think she's going to need some outside help. Now where is that going to be Kyrie making an appearance and turning heel and attacking Bianca, and she feuds with Bianca for a little while, and you know, is Kyrie and Io as partners, or maybe Asuka comes ringside and Kyrie comes ringside and they fight Damage Control. Okay, but it doesn't seem like WWE is going with anybody other than Io right now. Mo the Killer says, is Io buried if Bianca Belair wins? I'm guessing you mean if she wins clean. Well, Bianca has beaten, you know, Becky Lynch and so many others that no, she's not buried if Bianca wins. I would be shocked personally, but I wouldn't look at it like it's a burial. I would look at it like they would have to have a plan, and I would have to see the plan. But I don't see anything right now. They had Io beat Charlotte, but she didn't beat Charlotte clean. I wonder if Bianca and Charlotte is still on the table for WrestleMania. Now with the Jade Cargill option, you know, and then you got the Kyrie option as well. And you got to try to figure out how that's going to work. I don't think Io is harmed if she loses. Especially even if she loses clean, I don't think it's a big deal. But the question then becomes, what do you do with her next? Unless Io loses, and that's the end of Damage Control. Like, that's the only move you got left on this board after Io drops the belt, is that she has to start feuding with Bayley or Dakota Kai or maybe both. And so I'm not sure if they're ready to do that yet. Because again, just like Judgment Day, they've been teasing the Damage Control breakup forever. You know, it's gonna be an interesting time. Triple H has decided to slow down the storytelling to a crawl, which look, maybe you could say they weren't exactly burning through stories a lot back in the day. Even a couple of years ago, they weren't doing things so fast. But now things are moving so slow. It's dreadfully slow. I mean, the Bray Wyatt stuff was incredibly slow. You know, the Bloodline story has, you know, slowed up the longer it's gone on, the slower it got. And now it's, you know, slow as hell. This Judgment Day thing is super slow. You know, but the LWO separation has been slow. All this stuff has been really slow, too slow. The decision needs to be made to feud Bayley and Io if you're going to have Io drop the belt. That's just it. She cannot continue to be in Damage Control and not be the champion. It's literally stupid for you to do that. All right. So having a heel champion with two people can help her. All right. But then Io is right back in the same position that she was in before she was a champion. If she drops the belt, but still in damage control. That's stupid. Why do that? Apostle of JBL says, unlike the Puerto Ricans, I like Io more than Bianca. Some people like Io. I mean, I like Io too. I'm a big fan of Io. I'm just trying to look at this. I'm certainly more of a Bianca fan. And let's do a little divergence here, because these two things just popped into my mind. I've been talking about this match long enough, but I just saw that Bianca and Montez Ford's new show is going to be on Hulu, and I'm very interested. I've heard whisper about it, I heard tell about it for a little while now, but now it's official. They're going to have a show on Hulu. It's going to be like a reality TV show. I think it's called Love and WWE. Is that what it's called? Or that was at the headline? Let me look it up. I didn't expect to spend too much time on it. But I saw that title and was like, oh my goodness, please don't let that be the please don't let that be the title. But I only saw for a moment, you know, what's going on here. Let me check it out. But I'm surprised that I would not be surprised, I should say, that she wins the belt for that reason, so that she can be the champion on the show. Oh, here it is. It's called Love and WWE. Bianca and Montez will begin airing on Hulu this February. So it is called Love and WWE. How terrible is that name? I mean, when it came to the Miz and Maurice, it was Miz and Mrs. That's at least clever. When it comes to these two, it's Love and WWE. What? Well, why can't it be like Tez and B hit the streets or something like that? I don't know. But this show will look back at Bianca Belair and Montez Ford's wild road to WrestleMania as Montez continues his ascent and Bianca fought to stay on top with the support of their tight-knit group of friends, family, and fellow WWE superstars. The dynamic duo somehow always managed to pull off the impossible. Well, this wouldn't be too bad if they had actually been on television this entire time. Instead of them acting like, you know, magnets that can't go anywhere near each other, they move like oil and water. They ain't. When was the last time Bianca and Montez was on the same screen together? WWE not utilize, like, you've seen Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano on TV together more than you've seen Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. They're almost never on the screen together. Almost never. Miz gets to have his wife on TV. When Triple H was wrestling, he got to have his wife on TV. Johnny Gargano, like, him and Candice don't do story stuff together anymore. But when they were in NXT, they were doing stuff together. They even have Ricochet and Samantha on TV together. But Bianca and Montez, they can never be on TV together. Now, there was a short time where that Becky and Steph thing was a disaster. That was an absolute unmitigated disaster. I hate everything about 2019 for that very reason. What a disaster that was. It was 2018, 2019, right? What a horrible. Love it. I didn't even think about Love and Basketball. So maybe, I guess the title, that makes a little bit more sense. I hadn't put it together. I wasn't even thinking about Love and Basketball. What a stupid movie that was. That movie was dumb. But if you're going to have a reality TV show, which apparently they were filming this entire time, why weren't they on TV together? Why weren't they involved in storylines together? They're having whole separate careers. And then it's an interesting thing that they're trying to talk about the ascent of Montez Ford. It's like, what the hell was he doing that he wasn't doing already? He's the same tag team wrestler he was 2 years ago. 3 years ago. He's a very, very, very talented guy. I'm not saying he should leave Angelo Dawkins, but he should probably consider leaving, or at least making Angelo Dawkins like, you know, what would be like not quite his tag team partner, not quite his manager, you know, his associate, his homeboy. You know, I don't know how you would classify it, but they shouldn't be expected to tag team anymore. You know, like they don't have to feud with each other, but maybe they aren't expected to tag team anymore. Kind of like what they're doing with Carmelo and Trick, except for they ain't going to end up feuding because tag teams always feud, always. Unless you're the New Day, then you just bore everybody for 10 years. I can see Bianca winning the title to promote this show. So that's possible. She probably wouldn't be champion long, but I could see that occurring. The show is going to be out in February. WrestleMania is in what, late March, early April. So either she wins the title now to help promote the show, or she wins the title at WrestleMania to promote the show. But I'm pretty sure she's going to win the title to promote the show. I'm pretty sure she's going to win the title to promote the show. But if the Charlotte Bianca thing is on the table, then maybe Charlotte wins the title and Charlotte and Bianca wrestle at WrestleMania, and that's when Bianca wins the belt. I don't know. Doesn't do anything for us here at Crown Jewel, but them announcing the show 2 days before Crown Jewel will probably get a lot of people's juices, you know, flowing and saying, do you really want to announce her to be like one of the co-stars of this show? And let's be honest, it's a reality TV show, so she's going to be the star. And you have her lose to like a 5'2" Japanese girl. I'm just saying. I don't think they'll go disqualification route. I know somebody here said DQ. I don't think they're going to go the DQ route. I don't think they're going to actually take that out. They'll probably more than likely have Bayley cost Bianca the match, and then, you know, she gets rolled up or something, more than they go a disqualification route. I'm going to go with Io winning, but I would not be surprised if Bianca Belair won. John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. Oh, brother. Now, I've said it before, say it again. John Cena needs to win this match. Nothing against Solo. I like Solo. A lot of people are kind of on the fence about him. People have called him a ripoff of Umaga, even though everything he does is a tribute to Umaga. Like Solo Sikoa, everything that he's doing is a tribute to his roots. You know, the hip attack, the thumb in the throat, you know, the barefoot. All that's like traditional Samoan stuff. As opposed to the more modern Samoans, being like Roman Reigns and the Usos, who wear like gym shoes, you know, and Jimmy's got braids. You know, they're homeboys from San Francisco. And John Cena needs to win. Solo Sikoa is not going to be killed or dead if he loses. It won't hurt him at all, to be quite honest, because Cena is one of the is top 5 biggest stars in the history of the goddamn WWE. Probably top 20 to 30 in the history of the business. It wouldn't kill Solo Sikoa for him to win. So I'm not tripping on that. The thing is, if Solo beats John Cena, where do you go with him? If he beats John Cena, then well, shit, he's on the same level as Roman, right? I mean, he should be wrestling for the strap or something like that, right? But you got to keep Solo in his pocket. You know, he can't rise too high. So I say Cena wins. Cena beats him. It's a moral victory for Cena. The crowd is very excited. All the kids are very happy. All the people who grew up, you know, with John Cena are very happy. Solo isn't really hurt that much. And then Cena can go back to Hollywood. No harm, no foul. But if Solo wins, you have to ask the question, why isn't he the champion? Why isn't he fighting for the title? Why isn't he fighting for the U.S. belt at the very least? Why is he still Roman Reigns' henchman if he can beat John Cena? I don't know. That's a good question. Cena, yes, Cena's about to give a rub, which is the entire basis of this whole ordeal. And just having these standoffs between Cena and Solo Sikoa has been a victory for Solo Sikoa. You know, these great standoffs have been very good for his character, has been very good for his future, and he's been beating up Cena a lot. So I could definitely see this thing being just one big rub for him before Cena beats him and goes on about his day. And I'm not tripping on that. You know, I'm not looking at it in terms of you got to put the young guy over, because it's like, put him over for what? You know, put him over for what? Yeah, WG Phil, I started the stream at 7. Because there was so much that we got to discuss. I started it at 7. So I'm not even, that was my bad, y'all. I started at 7. I'm going to go with Cena wins. That's what I'm going to go with. I think the easiest match to pick out of this whole thing, Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. Because there's no chance in hell LA Knight wins this match. There's just no chance in hell. You know, I see LA Knight coming out having these interviews talking about people are getting bored with Roman Reigns. Yeah, people are getting bored with Roman not being there. You know, they love the Bloodline. They want to see more Bloodline stuff, but the storyline has dragged far too long. There's not enough gas in it anymore. And that's why people are kind of starting to tune out. Because the thing that they tuned in to see is taking way too long to get moving again. And I get it. WWE is in that low period where now it's not WrestleMania season yet. It's not SummerSlam season. And nobody really gives a shit about Survivor Series. And things don't actually matter until December when Royal Rumble is right around the corner. So you're kind of like in that, this is the June of the later half of the year. Because in June, don't shit matter. All right? No, nothing matters in June. All right? May, yes. June, no. I can't think of a last time something mattered when it comes to WWE in June. Almost nothing matters in June. And November is about the same way. With the exception of when they used to do something special for the Survivor Series. But that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. Most times now, November is, again, the later part of the year, June, where nothing happens. We're just dragging ass until mid-December when it's Royal Rumble time. No, the Bloodline, as a matter of fact, peaked that Money in the Bank because they did a really great job in January of leading to the February match between Sami and Roman. Did a great job there of catapulting us into WrestleMania. And then from WrestleMania, they did a really good job of having Sami and Jay go, at each other in April, and then May, and then June. And then when June happened, I think that's when they had the Bloodline Civil War, because they had, it was July. Again, just June was nothing. July, Money in the Bank. August was the Tribal Combat match. And that was the last time anything major happened. in the Bloodline story was the tribal combat match where Jimmy turned heel, and then things hit a goddamn skirt, and we've been pushing the car ever since. The shit ran out of gas. We've been pushing this car ever since, you know. I'm surprised that Triple H has not brought back Starrcade. I'm very surprised he hasn't. Maybe he'll do it for NXT, but I think NXT is going to go back to do some Deadline. But I'm surprised he didn't have like an NXT Starrcade show, you know, or a WWE Starrcade show. He loves fucking WCW and NWA stuff. So LA Knight saying that everybody's bored of Roman Reigns with the. It's like, yes, people are. It's only because there's nothing happening. There's literally nothing happening. There needs to be some stuff happening. Unfortunately, there's not. So Roman Reigns wins. That's going to be easy. You know, Roman's not going to lose to LA Knight. Even if he is going to go disappear again and not do much of anything and reappear later on, I don't see the big deal. He's been doing that for a while now. He's been doing that for a minute. So that's it. That's it. Let's go through it one time for everybody who might have been coming in late. Oh, wait a minute. I cut the damn thing off. What am I doing here? What are you doing, Mongo? What are you doing? I'm making mistakes. That's what I'm doing. Unprofessional streams. Sami Zayn wastes his time defeating JD McDonough because he's the only Muslim on the roster. Drew McIntyre needs to beat Seth Rollins. This actually is for the best of Seth Rollins too. That needs to happen. Seth Rollins probably needs to drop the belt for his own benefit at this point. Rhea Ripley begins her storyline with Becky Lynch probably the Monday after this. So she's probably going to win the Women's Monsters Ball match. Logan Paul should take the U.S. title away from Rey Mysterio so Rey can feud with Santos Escobar. And Logan Paul can go on Impulsive and a bunch of other stuff with the U.S. belt. Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes is a waste of time. It only serves the purpose of Damian Priest wins and then cashes in the Money in the Bank later. If it doesn't happen, then this match was for no reason. Solo Sikoa should do the job to John Cena. It's great for him just being in the ring. I expect Io Sky to beat Bianca Belair. There's going to be some shenanigans. What kind of shenanigans? Unsure. It was supposed to be a watch along this week. That's what my timer said. My timer said it's supposed to be a watch along this week. Whoops, maybe Sunday. Maybe we'll do a watch along on Sunday. Now Roman Reigns over LA Knight. So that's Crown Jewel 2023 in a nutshell. So there that goes. Seth Rollins is better at chasing than he is to being the champion. Well, he's better as a heel than a face, and they insist on him being a babyface right now. So I don't know what's going on. June used to be the month of King of the Ring. I wonder why Triple H never went back to it. Well, that's a good question. I'm guessing that he might actually go back to King of the Ring. You know, I wouldn't put it past him. Do you think, Crossface Racer, do you think we're going to get Jade Cargill versus Bianca at WrestleMania? Probably not. I think Bianca's heard that so much now that she's starting to pitch a tag team match. she doesn't actually want to wrestle Jade Cargill. She's like, I'm sick of this. I want to push the culture. WG Fields thinks Starrcade will happen once Cody is the champion. You know what? That actually wouldn't be too bad. Cody would have to be a champion for a long time to get to a Starrcade, though. They've already phased out December pay-per-views, and that's when Starrcade is. So unless they have 2 November pay-per-views, or they rename one of the Saudi shows to Starrcade. Now, that sounds like a good idea. To me, that sounds like a good idea. What they call it now is Crown Jewel and what, Super Showdown? Super Showdown sucks as a name. Go ahead, transform it to Starrcade. And WWE Starrcade, and they have the first show, what is this, early part of the year, I think? Yeah, just go ahead. I think it's after WrestleMania. So go ahead and call that show Starrcade. I don't know what they call it now. I don't remember. I think it's Super Showdown, but it's terrible. It's a terrible name. That brand is dead anyway. That Super Showdown, that brand died a long time ago. There's got to be some more here that I saw. Io is a terrible champion. I'm not going to say she's terrible. You know, they've been booking people very poorly when it comes to them having titles. You know, Io doesn't have any real feuds. She just kind of, you know, goes from match to match. She doesn't really get a lot of spotlight. She kind of shares her spotlight with Bayley. She doesn't feel like the champion, but she is the champion, and she's a very good performer. You know? Again, compare what they do with Io to what they're doing with Gunther. You know? It's not nearly the same. Or what they do with Rhea Ripley. It's not nearly the same. She's seen as a work rate girl who has the belt, so she's going to have the matches, and Bayley's going to do all the talking, which is what everybody expected, I guess. You know, what are you going to do? I mean, like, what are you going to do? That's what you expect. AJ3 says Roman barely wrestles and appears on SmackDown. If Paul wins, we're stuck with tag team champions and women's title matches. Yeah, but that's pretty much what we got now anyway, isn't it? The U.S. title isn't defended on TV. Almost never. You know, I don't know. Like, saying that the championship is going to disappear if Logan Paul has it. But the belt's already disappeared. And Rey Mysterio's got it. So instead of putting it in a closet, give it where somebody can see it at the very least. AJ3 says Triple H don't have to deny the champ. He likes to please the marks. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. You know, it's pretty stupid if we're being honest. But I can tell you that part of the reason why AEW is struggling right now is because of the takeover of creative by Triple H. You know, again, and I heard somebody say this, and my God, if it's not true, that people didn't want an alternative to WWE. They just wanted WWE to be better. And despite the fact that no matter how much we yell about it, scream about it, there's people who truly believe that WWE is better now than it would have been. Like, look, Vince is 80. All right. So it was inevitable that he's gonna have to move out of the way. And that's generally the idea, is that there's a lot of excitement around Triple H and what he's gonna do and how he's gonna run the shows and who's he's gonna push and all this kind of stuff. Who's he gonna bring back and all this stuff. And that has been the biggest, most devastating left hook to AEW, is that WWE has a new take on creative. They're having longer matches. They're taking wrestling a lot more seriously. You know, there's less comedic segments on the show. There's less pushing of people with high levels of charisma. There's more, they let the personalities drag the people who don't have charisma to the main event or whatever. So you have these kinds of situations here. You've got fresh faces who are given more opportunities. You can say pretty sure Tommaso Ciampa wouldn't have been in the main event of Raw under Vince McMahon. You know, and because WWE is doing better, business-wise and creatively, just a little bit better than it was, 2 or 3 years ago. But then again, that was the middle of the pandemic and coming right out of the pandemic. Then they believe that that's really all people wanted. And therefore, AEW has been irreparably damaged by the fact that, Vince got pushed out, moved out, retired, or whatever the case may be, whatever the truth is, and wherever the truth lies on that spectrum. And I think that's a good point. I think it's a legitimate point. So I'm not going to disagree with them at all. WG Phil says, I miss Vince. It was seen he was invigorated in mid-2021, 2020, right before he retired. Yeah, it seemed like he knew the hammer was coming, especially in early 2022, because we got a buckshot to the face with that WrestleMania, where they actually paid money for Pat McAfee to have 7 Nation Army, and then Vince wrestled, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin came back, and you're like, holy shit, what is going on? And then a couple of weeks later, the hammer came down on Vince. You was like, oh, that's what happened. Vince had one last hurrah, and then that was it. And that's very weird. That's very weird. Light says, King of the Ring was announced and canceled this year. Interestingly enough, that is true. It seemed like they were going to do a King of the Ring, and then they got rid of it. There's just general idea that tournaments don't draw. And I can't say that it's true or it's not true. I can just say I like the King of the Ring. But if you're going to use it the way that they used it, I think Xavier Woods walked around with the King of the Ring crown for 3 weeks before Roman stepped on it. And basically he was never announced. He had his own theme song for probably about a month. Then that was it. You can't run the show that way, Like, you can't just give up on the shit. Like, oh, he's going to be... That's like Zelina Vega. They don't even mention that she was Queen of the Ring anymore, or Queen's Crown, or whatever the fuck they called it. So it's very interesting. AJ3 says, and Hunter's been conservative on the NXT talent. He is calling up, not like how Vince McMahon did. He's not making them seem like stars either. He's just bringing people on the show, and that's just kind of it. And he's finding reasons to bring. Again, the Dragon League thing is one of the biggest whiffs in history, because I'm looking at this thing like it seemed like he was primed to be in the LWO and to be very good, and they replaced him with Carlito. I'm like, why? So he could team up with Cameron Grimes? What the hell you do that for? So here we start with this. Crossface Ray says, how long did these readings have to get? I guess I mean, how low do these ratings have to get before people realize that Triple H creative is just as bad, if not worse than Vince? Well, let's talk about the ratings, because we got to talk about SmackDown. So SmackDown was canceled by Fox, even though we know it was picked up later by USA, so it's not going to be like any break in service. But this led to a lot of conversation, because Fox has gone on record. I think his name is Lachlan Murdoch, the son of Rupert Murdoch, who now runs Fox. And he explained, I'm going to play the audio, why WWE was dropped from Fox. This led to a lot of conversation. So let's hear what he said first, and then we'll get into the conversation.
I think we've talked about this before, but how we analyze the WWE renewal, and we look at all of our sports portfolio in the same way, and on all new rights, opportunities to acquire new rights in the same way. We, on the basis of that analyst analysis. Sorry. We, on both an advertising point of view, we were not hitting the advertising numbers due to the audience of the WWE to make to return for our return on investment.
No, this guy's worse than Meltzer. Like, how long is it going to take for him to make a point? Like, he sounds like he got stage fright. Guy, you have to have been doing this for years already if you're the CEO of Fox. And your dad was the CEO of Fox or whatever, or the owner and operator, or maybe even the creator. How are you not good at talking? Get to the point. Spit it out, kid.
To be above the levels that we would accept, but also we didn't attribute enough significant retransmission revenue to the WWE either. So it made sense for us to move on from them. They've been a great partner for many years, but just quite simply, we're very disciplined, and the ROI didn't meet our predisciplined parameter.
Oh fuck! I could have just read it for. Let me just read it because I'm. This is getting on my nerves. Him stammering through this is worse than Meltzer. Goodness, I'm just going to read what he said for Christ's sake. Where is it? God, it's like, is he even remotely literate for Christ's sake? What the hell is wrong with this guy? Where is it? Apparently I don't have it, but I could have had maybe I got a screenshot and not a saved. Or do I got a screenshot of it? I do not, I think. No, I don't. I don't have a screenshot of it or anything. I'm gonna have to look it up while I'm doing this. But it's ridiculous, bro. Like, can we get to the point? Can we get to the big picture? Like, this is a damn disaster. What on earth is going on? Oh, now my internet will start moving slow. This is no good. I hate this fucking internet. The bottom line is they weren't getting a return on their investment. The ad revenues weren't high enough. And they said they were getting insufficient ad revenue for what they were paying out. So it's simple economics. Too much money coming out, not enough coming in. And they decided that it wasn't worth renewing because WWE likely wanted too much money. So what some smart people actually did is they went and looked. How much does it cost to run a commercial on SmackDown? And that led me to going down the entire path of trying to figure out the ad revenue in SmackDown. So let's discuss this real quick. Now, I do have this information. So Ad Age, the advertising agency, they say what primetime TV ads cost in fall of 2023. The cost for a 30-second ad declined across the majority of broadcast TV as the industry grapples with economic volatility, cord cutting, and delayed productions. So it says, with ratings down, unit costs come down, said a third media agency executive. This is often counteracted by pricing inflation, bringing unit costs back up. But this year, CPMs, or cost per thousand viewers, were down as well. So it's a double whammy on unit costs. Okay? So that means that the ratings are not high enough for any show. And it says, of the 78 shows documented in this year's pricing chart, 53 didn't appear on last year's chart. This accounts for reruns that don't compare in pricing to original episodes. Okay? And then here's the kicker. The year's biggest gainer is Fox's WWE SmackDown, which saw an 8% increase for a 30-second ad to $51,077. So they said Fox also saw the biggest decline for any program with Lego Masters, which dropped 60% from $80,000 or maybe $81,000 to $32,000. So, and if you look at Ad Age, you go to the information. Now, they have it by network, and we don't need to concern ourselves with CBS and the CW. We're talking about Fox, right? The highest rate for the show is The Masked Singer, which is a primetime television show. The cost to run a commercial on the Masked Singer is $81,000 or $80,699. $80,699. This is down 51% from 2022. Just last year, The Masked Singer now takes in less money. It used to be $165,000 or $166,000. I'm rounding up, okay? Half. Crapopolis. I don't even know what that is. I'm pretty sure it's crappy. It cost $63,000 to run a 30-second ad on Crapopolis. This show did not exist last year, so it didn't have a last year. The Simpsons, $55,000 to run a 30-second ad on The Simpsons. Down 49%. It used to cost $107,000 to run an ad on The Simpsons. WWE SmackDown comes in fourth place, $51,077, up 8% from $47,119. So when you look at their return of investment, it wasn't nearly what other shows were. I'm being told that Crapopolis was some kind of animated show. So two animated shows, being the Crapopolis and The Simpsons, were, I'm pretty sure those shows cost a lot to make too, because they're animated. So SmackDown didn't have a big return of investment. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Look, man, quite a few of you guys have been here long enough that I've been talking since 2020 about ad revenues, declining ratings, cord cutting, and how that was going to decimate the industry. I mean, this ain't new to me. I was kind of surprised that SmackDown got cut because I was like, okay, well, they're paying a lot, but it is one of their highest rated shows. Maybe that'll offset. And maybe I should have gave up a little sooner. But this is one of the things I'm going to discuss right here, is what a reasonable expectation was. So there's a lot of people floating around what a reasonable expectation of SmackDown's ratings were going to be. Understand, I think the contract was signed in 2019? So nobody knew that 2020 was going to happen. That decimated your ratings right there. There's nothing you could do about a global pandemic. But to say that Jim Valley of Wrestling Observer says, oh, their expectations were 5 million viewers. 5 million viewers? That's in no way reasonable. That's not reasonable. All right. That is not a realistic number. What juju did you have to create to come up with 5 million? And not just talking about this guy, the same fellow who just says that WWE did not have enough return on investment. He's also complaining about the 9 million viewers of the World Series. And he expected to get half that every single week for WWE. That's not reasonable. Nobody would have thought that. That's dumb. 3 million is a little bit more reasonable because that's actually in the ballpark. But that was still not going to happen because it's not about the ratings. It's about the demographics. One of the things that he said is that they couldn't get the return on investment due to the WWE's audience. That's what he said. All right. I'm going to try to find his actual wording because he didn't do a good job of saying it. It says, we were not hitting the advertising numbers due to the audience of the WWE for our return on investment to be above the levels that we would accept. But also, we didn't attribute enough significant retransmission revenue to the WWE either. Meaning both sides failed to really give what the other wanted. But I don't know. I'm not an expert, by the way. I'm just trying to figure out, because I've dealt with this retransmission fees thing either. And basically that is companies get paid, well, broadcast TV companies, they get paid by cable providers for picking up the feed. So maybe WWE was supposed to get some of that money or whatever the case may be. However that was supposed to happen, we would need to learn the particulars of their contract. But the bottom line is that due to the audience of the WWE, they were not hitting the ad revenues that they wanted. Everybody immediately jumped to the ratings argument. It wasn't necessarily the ratings. It's the quality of the people watching the show. Bros, how many times have I sat here and told you the wrestling audience is not liked by the advertising industry? It's not. We could go through this whole thing again if you would like, about how the advertising industry treated WWF and WCW back in the day. How WCW had some of the highest ratings on television and still didn't have solid ad revenue. So it's not about the ratings. It's about what that industry thinks about wrestling fans. That's what it's about. It's not about ratings. It's not about numbers. They think everybody who's a wrestling fan is broke and low income. And some of us are. And SmackDown, being on broadcast television, attracted a lot of blacks and Latinos who typically have lower incomes than white people. So when Tony Khan starts talking about how AEW has a smarter, better, more middle-class income than WWE, he's basically saying we've got middle-class white guys watching our shows. More middle-class white people are watching us than watching WWE. But that's by design, because WWE is trying to appeal to everybody. That was the point of them being on broadcast television. That's why the stock went down, because the stock says you're going to have a smaller pool of people to look into. Even if you got a 40% increase on your pay, and this is something that Nick Khan talked about, you got a 40% increase, good for you, but now you're behind a paywall again on cable, which is fucking dying. Cable is not strong. You're not going to be able to get the ratings, and you're going to lose being in all the homes in the United States. But these people are saying your audience, too broke, not enough income, we can't get the ad rates that we want. And all of that is probably true, because this industry has been getting shit on for 30 or 40 years. This is not anything new. And nobody who is telling you the truth would say anything different. You could talk about, oh, it was supposed to get 3 million viewers. That's not going to make the ad revenue go up. All right. It's supposed to get 5 million. Like, why not 27 million? It's still not going to make that industry respect wrestling fans enough to keep it on the air. It just does not have the same audience as football, baseball, and basketball. It just does not have it. It's not considered a respectable industry. The fan base are not considered, they are considered lowbrow, lower intelligence, lower income, and too diverse. And I don't mean it in terms of politically diverse. I mean, there is no, anybody could be a wrestling fan. Where you have to be, now, you may say, well, baseball fans are pretty diverse. Yeah, it could be. But baseball appeals to a certain demographic. Football appeals to pretty much everybody. But it's favored by a certain demographic. The NBA, almost 100% niggas. All right? I mean, it is what it is. It's along the same line as the sponsorship issue with WWE. They operate in an industry that people don't really want to do business with. So when we start talking about the sponsorships, and we talked about that 100 times too, why can't they get more sponsors? Well, part of it is the industry that they're in. Part of it, like UFC had to become more and more and more like boxing. And since I have gone back and learned a lot about UFC, you see how the growth of the industry came about, mostly by cleaning it up. All right. Not so much focus on blood and guts and fighting and, you know, letting guys do whatever they want, you know, scantily clad women. And maybe the sponsors would be like a beer company or or something like that, you know, men's razors or something. To now they're trying to get respectable sponsors. They had to go through that whole thing with John McCain and politics in order to clean up the sport. And now UFC is considered, mixed martial arts, I should say, a legitimate sport. No different than boxing, no different than football. Now, it doesn't get the same ratings as WWE. I think WWE, they don't have the fan base. They have a richer fan base. That's why they make more money off the tickets they sell. So I've seen like people showing, people have showed how much more money UFC makes than WWE in attendance. They charge more for tickets. And they do that because they can. They have the audience that goes to that. WWE's audience, you got to lower the ticket prices. All right. Again, that's the wrestling audience. The people who can buy a ticket to the show. But the most expensive ticket is going to be your big events. SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, etc. A regular house show ticket, a regular Raw ticket is not that expensive. When you're trying to sell high-end jewelry or high-end cars, or you're trying to partner with a certain agency, you don't want to have certain kinds of people. Let me back up. When you want to advertise a product, you have to target your advertising at a certain demographic. That demographic could be anything. Okay? Whatever demographic you're looking at buying your stuff. WWE does not have a demographic that appeals to high-end advertisers. Therefore, the ad rates are not going to be high. If they could charge $200,000 per episode, per 30 seconds, that's per 30 seconds. So if you have, I don't know, a 2-minute commercial or a minute and a half commercial, you're shelling out over $150,000 for a SmackDown commercial. what is the audience of WWE? Now, it does not matter ultimately to Fox because they were shelling out more money than they were getting in. And they weren't getting in the money because of the audience, not necessarily because of the ratings. Now, the ratings don't help, but you have to have advertisers. You have to have an audience that the advertisers are interested in. And the WWE does not. So that was dead right there. It was dead right there. You could talk about it was supposed to be 5 million. It was supposed to be 4 million. Because people just pulling those numbers out of their asses anyway. I haven't seen anybody who knows anything give me a straight up link. Vince McMahon says Fox wants 4 million viewers per week or whatever. Murdoch says he wants 3 million viewers per week for SmackDown. I've never seen. I have challenged wrestling journalists to say this stuff. Post a link. Oh, you should read the Observer. I'm not reading the Observer. Dave Meltzer does not work for Fox or WWE. He also is not a authority on TV analysts and advertisement and all. He is not a major player in that realm. Not when you got Variety and Deadline and everybody else coming out. There's people who do this for a living. All right? Those are the people who you should be able to point to and say, this guy said that even if he was being conservative, and some people could take and make a really good estimation. And I'm thinking that's what everybody's going with is if you estimate return on investments, this would be, you have to do yada, yada, yada. That's complex math. You would have to actually understand fully how advertisers and revenue go hand in hand, but you will also have to take into account demographics. You will also have to take into account a lot of other things. That's complex computations of which if Meltzer could do that, he will be making millions in the advertising industry. He wouldn't be and ahhing on fucking podcasts. He's and ahhing on podcasts because he can aggregate and people will talk to him. But he's got his minions out here saying they wanted 5 million viewers. I'm like, who the fuck told you that? Where did you get that from? You got to read the Observer. I'm not reading the Observer. You can't tell me 4 years after the fact I have to pay for that information. No, thank you. And then it might not even be quality sourced information in any way. So no. If I read in like Variety or something like that, then I may take it a little bit more seriously. But come on. Most of us knew this. Most of us knew this already. We were not surprised. I was surprised only so much. Now he's arguing with somebody in my comment section. You know, like this is the weird thing. This Jim Valley guy, look, I moved on. Once he said read the Observer, I moved on. Like, he doesn't have any answers. He came out of nowhere talking about, well, they expected 5 million viewers. What? Why would that be a reasonable explanation? They started out with less than 4, didn't they? Where they got like 4 and some change when they started on Fox. And then it diminished, and then it kind of stuck at like 2.5, 2.4, or whatever. And it stayed there for a while. And then the pandemic happened. And then things cratered, which wasn't WWE's fault. They kept producing content. If they could have just shut down like everybody else did, then who knows? But then things crept up again because of the Bloodline. So, to me, it's not about the numbers. The numbers be damned. It's about the demographics, the audience, and advertisers not giving a damn about wrestling. And it's going to be that way forever. Because it's the same shit it's always been. For those of you who are new, there is a wonderful book that you probably can't afford now because it's probably like $40. It's called Nitro by Guy Evans. For some odd reason, this book is very, very expensive now. I guess it went out of print or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of goofy. But they talked about the ad rates between wrestling shows and other products. Here is what they said about ad rates. If you had clients who were fans, there was a whole different experience. I think the sales office in Chicago, Detroit, and Los Angeles had an easier time with WCW, but that's just speculation. In New York, we were proud to talk about being the #1 in ratings with the help of WCW, yet embarrassed by the program from a content standpoint and even an audience standpoint. It felt downscale, country, and so on. In comparing the audience, comparing the difference between ad rates for wrestling and other programming, the discrepancy was significant, said Bill Burke, who estimates that an alternative show with similar ratings could command a rate 3 times that of WCW. Consequently, income derived from ad sales, one of the 4 primary revenue drivers for a contemporary pro wrestling organization, alongside pay-per-views, live attendance, and licensing and merchandising, consistently failed to reflect the size of its audience. WCW had this problem when it was the #1 wrestling show on television. 7, 8, 9 million viewers. And you mean to tell me that they expected this in 2019, 2021, 2022? This garbage. This industry does not like the wrestling industry. All right? It's dumb. It's dumb, but it's true. All right? Wrestling fans are just, the wrestling fans are the problem. I want to try to find you guys another excerpt, because here's the thing. As word of WCW's expansion filtered down TNT's executive vice president Bradley J. Siegel, it seemed as though Bischoff would face some serious resistance. Brad initially says, "I don't want it," recalls Bill Burke, who is early in his tenure heading up TBS. Now, this is when WCW is about to make a big run. Ad sales and TNT's leadership were opposed to it, agrees Scott Stefan, TNT's VP of advertising. It felt too downscale, didn't draw any of the audience we were doing well with, older men and women watching movies, or young urban suburban men watching the NBA, and so on. Ad sales didn't know how to sell it. This has not changed. This has not changed. Here's another piece from Guy Evans. Another misnomer concerned with the relationship between audience size and advertising rates. One common interpretation propounded that programs with higher ratings produced higher revenues, a logical fallacy insofar as it flagrantly disregarded crucial influencing factors. In 1994, to cite one illustrative example, Seinfeld commanded $390,000 for a 30-second spot, $40,000 more than Home Improvement, despite attracting fewer overall viewers. Its ability to draw more young viewers, often defined by the highly desirable 18 to 49 demographic, instead made all the difference. In some, as industry experts realized, advertisers bought demos before they did households. So it didn't matter how many people watched SmackDown. The demographics were not what the people wanted. And I haven't even gotten into the meat of this thing yet. We're just talking about how nothing matters. The nihilism of it. We haven't even gotten to the real issue yet. We haven't even gotten there yet. Here's my favorite thing about Ted Turner. And this is from the same book. According to Burke, the historical success of wrestling on the TBS network also allowed its founder to indulge in a favorite pastime, proving people wrong. Bill Burke says he thrived on people turning their noses up at stuff. Take Andy Griffiths, for example. Critics would say, "You country bumpkins," and then the ratings would be really good. There's some great early stories of him in his sales days when American Express, for example, wouldn't buy advertising on TBS because they were, quote, too downscale and too this and too that. Ted Turner pulls out an American Express card, slides it across the table and says, "I use your product, but you don't use mine. I have a real problem with that." Now we get in. Now that's enough. Guy Evans actually studied this stuff. It's about advertising, the advertising industry and its bias against wrestling. Higher ratings would not have fixed the problem. Now, it would have helped. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like they could have got 22 million viewers and they still would have got kicked off. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a reasonable number for WWE to get per week would not have probably kept them on that show, considering their ad revenue wasn't high enough. Now the meat of the matter. The meat of the matter is that the industry in and of itself is actually plummeting. This is from May 14th, 2023. TV's tough upfront. More video rivals will fight for fewer ad dollars. It's definitely a slower marketplace than it has been in years, says Rita Farrow, president of Disney's advertising sales business. One buyer says many of the clients tied to his agency have yet to register budgets for the yearly ad bazaar. Oh shit, I pushed the button and messed it up. In other years, this buyer says a ledger will already be filled with hard numbers. Quote, "It has been very difficult to get commitments from clients, and there is a lot of nervousness and uncertainty," the executive says. The buyer projects cable will see the biggest declines, followed by broadcast TV, with even digital possibly ceding some ground. Prime time is getting destroyed, says the buyer, because it costs the most, and advertisers will want to use the dollars they put to pay for digital. And this comes from somebody who follows the industry and people who work in the industry. And this was in May. Okay? They knew this was coming. It's been going on for years. This is why they rushed football back on. When the football players were scared of COVID, they didn't want to come back. And they forced them to come back. Same thing with the NBA bubble and all that kind of shit. It's because advertising rates were in the toilet. And they said, we got to get sports back on TV. It's the only thing that's going to be able to help us, especially the cable companies. You got to get sports back on TV. So they pulled some strings like, you got to get these guys back on the field. And that's what they did. They got to save them contracts. Nobody's going to have a job if the NBA don't play. Nobody's going to have a job if there ain't no Super Bowl. Right? The big issue here, television, cable, television, broadcast television, the suffering from lower ad rates. Let's go back to the previous article, because I don't think y'all heard me when I said it before. The year's biggest gainer is Fox's WWE SmackDown. We saw an 8% increase. Okay? They don't... October 31st, 2023. The cost to advertise on primetime TV has declined for nearly all fall broadcast programming. All fall broadcast programming is in the negative. Is in the negative. That means those ad rates that they were talking about, that this guy was umming and ahhing about, they're going down for everything. Everything. They're getting killed. They can't afford it. So they can't afford WWE. That's what it boils down to. They can't afford it. Yes, WWE's ratings weren't that great. Yes, the industry, the advertising industry don't like wrestling. But the bottom line is they simply could not afford it. They can't afford it. Not when they're trying to get the World Series, they're trying to get the NFL and all that kind of stuff too. They can't afford it. It's not that. It's come on, man. Who's adding context like this? So many people is making so many snap judgments. They're not looking at this stuff. They're not reading this shit. They're not listening to these people. These people work in the industry. These are not fucking wrestling dorks. The wrestling dorks want to talk about ratings. These people are like, we taking a bath on The Simpsons. I wouldn't be surprised if The Simpsons don't get canceled in 2 or 3 years. They're getting killed on stuff like Bob's Burgers, which is down 33%. They're taking a bath. They don't have any fucking money. Where the fuck is the money going to come from? There's no advertising. All the fucking money is going to streaming and social media, TikTok and Instagram, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So you can get deluged in commercials from them fucking channels. They're not going to TV. They're not going to cable. They're giving that money to Instagram. That's where the kids are. That's where the people with money hang out. They don't watch TV. We've been telling people they don't watch TV for 4 fucking years. They don't watch TV. This is why when people are talking about WWE not having a TV deal yet for Raw and NXT, they're still thinking in that primacy of TV stuff, right? TV is the most important thing. It's not. TV has been replaced a long time ago. Look at the ad revenue for like Instagram and shit. I'm not going into all that. But that's one of the things that Elon Musk started to talk about when it comes to Twitter, right? He's trying to fight the bots, quote unquote, because he knows that all the fake accounts and all this kind of stuff just drags Twitter down. Where is the money going? Are you telling me companies don't want to spend money anymore? It's not that they don't want to spend money anymore. They're choosing to spend their money elsewhere. They're giving that money to Netflix. They're giving that money to Hulu. They're giving that money to Instagram and TikTok, and they're not paying cable no attention. Cable is dead anyway. So, sure, NBC is willing to give SmackDown whatever they gave them. So, that might be we might have seen the last of Monday Night Raw on cable. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it don't pop up in the next couple of days that they're going to be on Amazon or Paramount Plus or something stupid like that. Because that's where the money is. So even the NFL has gone there. You know? The NFL is on Amazon. I would not be surprised. I don't want that though, because the way that they make that money is they're gonna upcharge you, or they're gonna try to force you to go and buy some other account. You know, that's why I said, and I haven't heard anybody else say this, that they already got Peacock. NBC should have Monday Night Raw and NXT on Peacock, streaming live on Peacock. That's what they should do. They already stream. If it's good enough for WrestleMania, it should be go ahead and do the same damn thing for Raw. Don't make me go and have to buy something else, because that's just gonna make me sail the high seas, and then everybody will lose money. Okay. If you try to tell me I gotta go get Apple TV or whatever to watch Monday Night Raw, you can forget it. All right. I'm not paying to watch that shit. All right. Forget it. We still think that TV is premier, number one, primetime television. In reality, it's not. I wouldn't pay for Raw either. I love NXT, but I wouldn't pay to watch it. Not every week. That's why I'm saying put it on Peacock. Get that ad revenue directed to Peacock. Why give it to Amazon or Apple or anybody else? Just give it to Peacock. Most people within the sound of my voice already got Peacock. You already got it. So you don't got to get anything extra. If you pay for it for the commercial free or whatever, great. I know I do. I pay for the commercial free stuff because I don't like commercials. All right. And plus, when I watch TV shows and stuff like that, and Peacock is the only thing I got, by the way. I don't even got Netflix. I don't got Hulu. I don't got none of that. Everything else, I find a way to watch it for free. You got to, absolutely got to think about this thing in more than one way. Everybody who is absolutely obsessed with television is going to end up looking like a fool at the end of the day, because ultimately it ain't going to work. Crossface Ray says probably going to go on ESPN because that's where the UFC is. Well, there has been some, I guess some, I don't know. Disney might sell ESPN. And that's kind of been the one thing that I've kind of been paying attention to is ESPN is a ratings monster, but it also has very highly declining ratings in terms of like their daytime talk shows and stuff. Like those are not as strong as it used to be. But they still get a lot of live sports, the NBA and stuff like that. So it's possible that WWE could do some stuff with ESPN. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's completely out of the realm of possibility. But Raw on ESPN, oh, that'll be weird. And then it's Disney too. I don't know, man. JS says, I think it'll be Amazon Prime. Weren't they one of the highest bidders? Hope it's Peacock though. Yeah, it needs to be Peacock. Now it would be nutty if it was Max. Like that would be crazy. That would be legit nuts. If HBO Max or whatever was like, we're gonna be the home of Monday Night Raw. That would be nuts. That would be humorous. There's a lot to discuss on this subject. I have a heartburn, so I'm eating it like a on that acid. I was spitting fire. But there's more to it than what people are letting it on. Fox also does not have the money like WWE wants. WWE wants an increase. Fox can't pay that. Also, the ad revenue is not high enough because of WWE's audience. These decisions are not made because of one thing. You know, it's just not going to work. Okay. Now let's talk about the ratings. Because Raw did like record low ratings this week. And then Damian Priest and Sami Zayn is the lowest rated main event in Raw history. Which is something that was said by Dave Meltzer. I don't know if it's true, but this is at least his wheelhouse. I don't know what the early Raws got in terms of ratings. I don't know. You know, so I have no idea. But Damian Priest, Sami Zayn, I don't blame them for the rating being so low. I know people think that, you know, just because these guys exist that people are going to watch them, but that's not true. They're not doing anything that matters. They've been wrestling each other for the last 6 months. 4 months at least. People are burnt out on these guys. It's time to switch things up. It's 100% Triple H's creative. It's not like I like Sami Zayn. Like I said, Sami Zayn's promo on Raw was really good. I like him as a performer. I don't necessarily care for his politics, but I'm not going to let that bias me. Him being a part of the lowest rated Raw main event isn't his fault. It was a match for no reason. You know, it didn't need to occur. You know, Raw is just reaching every other week now record low ratings. You know, every other week it's lowest rated match of all time, lowest rated segment of all time. And you're like, oh my God, what on earth is going on? And it's always the same damn thing. Matches, matches, matches. People having matches, and the goddamn match ain't going nowhere, or nobody cares about the people in the match. And they don't care about the people in the match because there's no reason to care about the people in the match. You understand me? You got people don't care. Okay? You got to make people care. You have to give people a reason to want to see Sami Zayn fight Damian Priest. Triple H is booking like he's a matchmaker of a boxing event. And not even a particularly good one. Oh yes, it's going to be awful in December. And everybody knew it was football season. You know, my Detroit Lions is doing okay. I'm claiming them because they're winning now, even though I disowned them when they lost. It's simple. This is why everybody, you know, I think Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc. has suggested that Raw get off Mondays. Raw gets the highest, very, very high ratings on Mondays. Only time they really take a bath, they get that 20% cut when football season happens. And then things start getting rough. You know, things start getting rough when football season comes along because it's a different era. You got a crossover audience. Older people are watching sports. They're not watching Raw. And that's, a big part of WWE's audience. You don't give people any reason to watch all the way through the show. And there's no reason to get to the third hour. It takes a bath because nobody cares. What have you done in the first two to make people care about that third one? Nobody gives a shit. So the third hour takes a bath every time. You start the show the same way every week, with the same people every week, fighting the same people every week. And then you think, oh yes, we're gonna put it in cruise control for 3 months. What? That's punishment to people who watch this show. You're gonna put it in cruise control for 3 months? Oh my goodness. It's about to be great. Triple H booking the long matches for no reason, stories with no purpose. Are you surprised? Look at the creative. Are you surprised? It's AJ3 says matches are like fast food, but storytelling and characters are the main dessert. That's what people are so interested in. That's what people are so interested in right there. They want a reason to care about people fighting. They want a reason to care about why these two guys are fighting. Why should they care about these two guys fighting? You don't give them a reason to care about these two guys fighting. Or at least make these guys interesting so that they could, they've moved away even from Cody. Like it used to be Cody would get huge ratings for Raw. And then they moved him to, not only is he not a part of the opening segment, sometimes he's not even in the middle of the show. And you're like, who's the star? Well, Judgment Day are the stars. Okay, but who? Well, all of them. Oh, okay. I don't. You gotta do the thing. It's ridiculous. I don't know what was on this time. What didn't they have the World Series on and a football game, or there was 2 football games on or something? It shouldn't matter that much, but it does. It shouldn't matter nearly as much as it does, but it does. And it matters a lot. It matters quite a bit. And there's not much you can do about it. But it's not just Triple H's terrible creative, it's also the time of the year. It's almost a holiday season. Holiday season gonna kick their ass. I don't know what day Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff is gonna be. But holiday season gonna whoop their ass. And football whooping their ass. But their creative has been very slow, very dreary, and nobody cares. you're right. You know, Detroit and Raiders, not big market teams. You know, not big market teams, especially like the Los Angeles Raiders. Ew. I'm pretty sure they love to put the Lions on prime time, but it used to be the Lions didn't play on Monday Night Football because they had the Turkey Day game to themselves, and now they've started expanding upon that too. So the Lions are now on Monday Night Football. J That's Me says Triple H basically just wants to turn the main roster into NXT Black and Gold. How he's trying to treat DIY like it's something special is humorous. Very humorous. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. All right, let's talk about this Ric Flair AEW deal. I got two more subjects before I got to get to. I'm trying to end this thing a little early. That's why I started early. But the Ric Flair AEW deal. Let's skip the whole what is Ric Flair going to be doing? Let's just talk about the Woo energy drink. So, from the press release, it says Woo Energy will become the exclusive energy drink of AEW. During AEW show dates, select host venues will carry the clean energy drink at concession stands for fans to enjoy. In addition, the beverage will be stocked in the wrestlers' locker rooms and will also be seen on the announcer's desk during live performances. I'm sorry, live broadcast. Where do I get performance from? Fans watching at home can experience Woo Energy by ordering wooenergy.com. Oh my God. There is... Now, here's the thing about this Woo Energy thing. I didn't know anything about this. Now, I knew that it existed, but I was like, it's an energy drink. I don't care. And then I went to the website. And so let's go to the website real quick. Now, AEW having a sponsorship with Woo Energy. Okay, cool. That's fine. Ric Flair talked about that they tried to go with WWE. WWE passed. I'm pretty sure they had a lot to do with, one, they had a sponsorship with C4 Energy at SummerSlam. So that probably didn't help. And second is you got Logan Paul and Prime. They haven't sponsored WWE yet, but they're probably trying to make Logan Paul a sponsor. So you got some weird stuff going there with WWE. Prime is the official energy drink of the UFC, by the way. After his brother tried to put the company out of business, talking about fighter pay and all this kind of shit, he slid in and gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. And what we got here with this Woo Energy thing is it's a sparkling mushroom elixir. That's what Woo Energy is. A sparkling mushroom elixir. $24.95 for a 6-pack of Woo Energy drinks. Now, 24 divided by 6. That's $6 a piece, I think. No, that'd be 36. 6 times 30, 6 times 24. So it's $4 a piece. And it has what's called adaptogenic mushrooms in it. Okay? Adaptogenic mushrooms have been around for centuries. This is from their website. These compounds contain adaptogens that help the body fight off harmful chemicals and biological effects that create stress at the cellular level. Using these naturally potent antioxidants daily can help protect and enhance overall well-being. Known for its nootropic benefits, helps to increase focus, memory, and may enhance concentration. Cordyceps, what is that? What is that? What is it, a cordyceps? These are widely known to boost energy and rejuvenate the mind, body, and soul, helping you reach new heights. Our mushroom energy boosted blend can help increase mental clarity, enhance performance, and elevate stamina. It can also help balance microflora in the gut and support overall cognitive brain function. This definitely does sound like something that needs to be FDA approved. This sounds like fucking medicine. All right? This sounds like medicine. What is this? What is this concoction, this brew that you're talking about here? And when I looked at the website, I was like, bro, who is behind this? Whose idea was this? And we're going to get to that in a second. And I'm not saying that he's a shady character or nothing like that. I'm just looking at this thing and I'm just despondent. Like, what is this? Who is drinking mushrooms? So it says they have a list of the mushrooms in the thing. Chaga mushrooms, a type of fungus that grows mainly in dark and in the bark of birch trees in cold climates. It helps with a lower blood pressure, and they may protect the brain from neurodegeneration, boost cognitive function, improve memory, etc. Red reishi is to reduce stress, improve sleep, lessen fatigue. Maitake, the dancing mushroom, is called. Maitake mushrooms have beneficial properties such as a functional food. What? Turkey tail mushrooms. It comes from the Tremites versicolor family, or the cloud mushroom. Has 10 rings that resemble feathers of a turkey. The benefits include stimulating immune function and reducing inflammation. So they also got lion's mane, cordyceps, gotu kola extract, L-theanine. L-theanine. What does Ric Flair know about any of this shit? What does Ric Flair know about L-theanine? What is that? Oh yeah, we need to learn about L-theanine. Get the hell out of here. Ric Flair don't know shit about this. All right. This is a licensing deal for him. So I looked up who is behind this thing. Because all of this is just licensing and merchandising. Okay. Ric Flair don't know shit about the product. He just adds his name and face to it. They pay him money. Now, Woo Energy is the official energy drink of like the Cleveland Cavaliers or whatever. So they're doing a good job in terms of, getting the product out there, getting these deals done. So it's not like this is a bomb or anything like that. But there's a guy by the name of Adam Wilkes. He is the CEO of a company called Karma Holdco. And he is the guy who's behind Woo Energy, as well as Immortal by Hulk Hogan. Now, what is Immortal by Hulk Hogan? What is that? It is the Hulk Hogan brand of vapes, some type of pill that they want you to take that has Hulk Hogan's face on it. I'm sorry, they call it kratom capsules, pre-rolls, flowers. They took our heroes from the 80s and turned them into guys who are shilling all types of chemical garbage. What the fuck is a kratom capsule? What is that? What is that really? How much research do I have to do to try to figure out what a kratom capsule is? This doesn't. Why is Hulk Hogan trying to sell me vapes? I think I've said before, like, the Hulkster wouldn't vape, bro. You think the Hulkster would vape? I'm like, look, Hollywood Hogan might vape, but the Hulkster, say your prayers, take your vitamins, smoke your vapes. Hulk Hogan wouldn't vape. Yo, this ain't nothing but a money grab. This is also behind the same guy that has behind the Ric Flair drip. You know, the weed strain of Ric Flair with his name and face all over it. He's selling merchandise, shirts and stuff with their faces all over it. And I'm not against any of this stuff. I'm just, you know, it's worth talking about because it's in the news now. Oh yeah, the Hulkster won't do it, but Terry Bollea does, clearly. And here's the most egregious one. The most egregious one is Mike Tyson. He's also behind the Mike Tyson brand of weed, which I don't care for. But they also have, I don't know what these things are, but they shape like ears that's been bitten. And they're called Delta 8 Mike Bites. What is this? Brought to you by legendary boxer, entrepreneur, and icon Mike Tyson. Tyson 2.0 Global is an extraordinary balance of premium and affordable hemp-derived cannabis and consumables available nationwide. What the hell is a Mike Bite? They got 4 flavors: cherry pie punch, black eye berry, sour apple punch, and watermelon. And it looks like a pack of this stuff is $30. That's what is black apple? What is black eye berry? What is this? These are ear-shaped gummy edibles, weighing in at 25, I guess that's milligrams, hemp-derived, D8 per gummy, and a flavor that will leave you seeing stars. We promise they'll taste better than the real thing, or at least that's what Mike tells us. What the fuck is this? Okay? What is this stuff? This is shit that has been concocted in a lab that they have paid our heroes to shill to you. What is this crap? None of this stuff got anything in it that can be readily recognized. I know what hemp is. I know what cannabis is. But why is it ear-shaped? Why is it shaped like an ear? Now, this Mike Tyson Undisputed Cannabis hoodie looks hard. I wish it didn't say Undisputed Cannabis, but the the joint looks hard. Okay. The Mike Tyson wraps are pretty good. The shit's like $10 at the dispensary in Vegas. They got these guys shilling weed products, man. Weed products. And an occasional t-shirt. So all these are businesses owned by Karma Hold Co., the CEO of whom apparently is a big fan of various wrestlers and Mike Tyson. And I guess the rapper Future. Because he also has Uh, he also has a future brand called Evo. Evo by Future is for the tastemakers and innovators, formed by the two-time Grammy Award-winning artist Future. I don't even know what this is. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. It's expensive trash. I'm just glad Ric Flair ain't got to ask people for money no more, because I know like his big thing has been debt, and apparently this Ric Flair Woo Energy thing is working out for him. And if it's just a license, he's going to make a ton of money off of it because he's got his face and his name on it. He's at that age where give him a pass, you know. But when you start telling people they're going to have to drink the dancing mushroom, I'm sorry, bro. What the hell are you talking about? Why do you want me to drink the dancing mushroom? I'm not drinking that. All right. How much of this crap do you think is going to be left behind? You think Chris Jericho is going to drink this shit? I guarantee you every wrestler under the age of 30 is probably going to taste it and laugh and spit it out, pour it down the drain or something. Because I remember when I had that C4 at SummerSlam, that shit was like battery acid. It was so sweet and so carbonated. I had like just half a little thing of it, and I couldn't take no more. You take an ashwagandha? Everybody is on a health kick all of a sudden. But I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Just don't drink your mushrooms. I don't know. Just don't drink your mushrooms. And I'm trying to see what this Evo thing is, but they want me to send them my email address, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be on your email list. You can forget it. But it's like, who's next? The Dom Mysterio candy bars. Yeah, they're not going to be candy bars. They're going to be hemp infused, gluten-free, dairy-free caramel sticks or whatever. The Shinsuke Nakamura personally made Pocky sticks. Who is doing this shit? You know, really. I'm a fan of all of these guys. I'm a huge fan of Mike Tyson and Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, but you're not going to get me to eat my weed, and you're not going to get me to drink mushrooms. You can forget it. I don't smoke weed, so I'm still not going to eat it, and I'm not going to drink mushrooms. Sorry, bro. Count me out. I'm a straight arrow. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't want no part of it. Count me out. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. You know, I just had to know about it. So when I saw it was the official drink of AEW, I was like, why? Why? And then apparently they also claim that this sponsorship contract will actually be paying for his AEW deal. So I guess whatever cut of the money that Ric Flair is supposed to get from this deal is actually going to count towards his AEW contract. And it's apparently a 2-year contract. Look, Ric Flair is what, 74, 75 years old? You know, he's too old for me to shame. Why would I shame a guy for being an entrepreneur anyway? But there's no way I would use them products. I'm not drinking nothing that's going to sound like it's going to put you in a psych ward. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on drinking my dancing mushrooms, all right? My red reishi, my go-to Kota, I'm good. Not drinking that, all right? I don't care how many dance around the fire Indians just to smoke it. I'm not dealing with it. No, thank you. All right? Yeah, I would have loved for Vince to have, what would Vince sell, though? Like, it would be like that would be the most interesting thing to me. Because Vince don't smoke and he don't drink, really. So I doubt Vince will smoke like weed or want to sponsor like hemp or something like that. So what would it be? Like it would probably have to be like workout materials, right? Like the Vince McMahon brand barbells or something, right? Suits. You know, he can't sponsor steroids. He tried that already. He's gonna throw him in prison for that. So I'm surprised that he hasn't launched like a fleet of gyms or something like that. You know, like wouldn't that be dope if Vince McMahon started sponsoring gyms all over the country? Like you know, Powerhouse gyms, Gold's gyms, Vince's gyms. You know, McMahon's gyms. That could be an interesting thing. Somebody run that up, the one that went up to the pike. Steak is a good one. I could see Vince doing steak. You know, I could see Vince trying to hawk some steaks. You know, made from the beefiest, chunkiest part of the cow. Eat this steak. We're all fine. Steaks are sold. Oh my God. I wish Vince would start selling me multivitamins again. He tried that with ICA-Pro. It didn't work. It didn't work, Vince. Daddy McMahon. I'm just floored by hemp-flavored ear candy. Why is Mike Tyson doing this? Like, I get it. He got robbed by Don King. I get that Hulk Hogan got robbed by his ex-wife. Career got destroyed by, you know, being a racist. Ric Flair, multiple lawsuits against him due to, you know, divorces. All three of those guys need money. I'm not surprised at all they got this licensing deal and they're hawking this crap. But I'm looking at it and like, could at least some of this stuff be recognizable to a regular human being? You know? But who knows? It might end up being like Foreman grills, where this thing might just be, it might just take off. I mean, Woo Energy is already bigger than I thought it would be. If you'd have told me 2 or 3 years ago Ric Flair would be selling energy drinks, for starters, I probably would have told you it's going to be a licensing deal and he ain't got nothing to do with it. He just showed up and put his face on it, which is exactly what happened, by the way. You can't tell me if you stopped Ric Flair and asked him about this fucking drink, he knows anything about it. You know? It was not likely. Not likely. I think somebody did ask him what the difference between this energy drink and all the other ones, and all he said was mushroom infused. Mushroom infused. Who the fuck cares about mushrooms, Rick? Really? They got Ric Flair out here selling weed and mushroom drinks. He's 75 years old or something like that, man. God bless him. But I'm not using none of that shit. I'm going to take a pass. All right. Last topic. UFC is getting sued. And because UFC is getting sued, well, in fact, let's go through this one more time. JS says he's done experiments with Red Bull. I've never drank it, but it smells good. What did you burn it? What did you do with it? Bianca disapproving of Montez's heel turn and being teased backstage by the girls about how Montez is a bad guy and having Montez considering not joining Bobby's team because Bianca is ashamed of him. That would be an interesting element to play into with their characters, wouldn't it? Where, you know, her attitude plays into his behaviors. Then they can call him pussy whip or something like that on TV. That could be fun. Do you think Prince holds the money in the bank till WrestleMania? Nope. I don't think so. I don't think he'll have it at the end of this weekend, if we're being honest. Ric Flair probably signed off when he was told he didn't kill anyone. Yes. He didn't read the dot, a lot of dots. Too many dots for him to count, for too many dots for him to matter. And he just put yet. Ain't killed anybody yet. Okay. QTCB Once Drew beats Seth, what feud sounds like the best, Drew versus Jay or Solo? I think you got to go with Jay. I think that sounds like it's the Solo's on SmackDown, so it got to be Jay. You know. Rachel Buck says Corbin should beat Dragon off at NXT pay-per-view. No. What are you talking about? Okay, yes. Now this is interesting. Now let's slide this in here before I get to the finish because I forgot to talk about this. Big E did reveal that there's no timeline for his return. And he basically said that there's chances he would take with other body parts that he's not willing to take with his neck. And that he's an older guy now. He's 37. He's basically saying he's going to retire, but he hasn't formally retired. He needs to just go ahead and do that. All right. I'm in favor of Big E just retiring. You know, don't tease people if you're skittish about the neck thing because your quality of life is good now. You don't really want to test it. That's fine. I don't blame him. He got to the pinnacle. It would be a great comeback story for him to come back and do it again or something like that. But if he don't want to test it, if he's going to be like, man, I feel good right now. I don't want to. I'm 37. I'm straight. WWE would take care of him for the rest of his life anyway. I'm good with Big E just saying he's retired. And then he pops up every once in a while, or he just stays on the road with New Day and helps them, but he doesn't take any bumps and nobody beats him up. Look, 25 years ago, he probably would have retired. All right. They do incredible things with surgeries today where now guys break their neck and then they get back in the ring. You know, but sometimes severe back injuries, severe neck injuries was the end of a guy's career anyway. You know, guys like Heenan injured his neck. That was it. Michael Hayes, it was the back. He was 35. He quit. He could be a backstage reporter. He could be anything. He doesn't have to wrestle anymore. I think he should go ahead and pull it. You know, he should go ahead and pull it. Rachel Buck, I appreciate your zeal. But when you say ridiculous things like Jey Uso should beat Roman Reigns for the title or Baron Corbin should be champion, you're incentivizing me skipping these questions. I'm not going to lie to you. If CM Punk not the answer to Nakamura, who is it? The only other answer is Randy Orton. That's really the only other answer you got. If it ain't CM Punk, it's got to be Randy Orton. Yeah. Well, it's got to be somebody that people will not be mad at. You know, because they already got themselves talked up with this CM Punk thing. So it's not going to be CM Punk. It's got to be Randy Orton. Nobody's going to be mad if it's Randy Orton. I already went through what the kickoff show is on this show. Okay, so Rachel Buck says, do you think Randy Orton will show up at Crown Jewel or they'll just wait until Survivor Series for him to show up? And I have a fear that Randy Orton won't use his move, the RKO, because of his back. Now, you know, that's a good concern. And I was thinking the same thing, honestly. I was thinking Randy Orton's going to have to retire the RKO. The back injury is like one of the worst injuries to have in wrestling because so much of wrestling is taking back bumps. I don't think he's going to show up at Crown Jewel. I would be surprised if he shows up at Crown Jewel. I don't think they'll wait for him for Survivor Series. Again, if it ain't CM Punk, it's going to be Randy Orton. And I'm putting my money on it being Randy Orton anyway. The question will be is whether he could do the RKO. You know, because 25 years of the RKO is what got his back in the situation that it's in now. I think everybody has noticed that AEW has not getting a renewal from Warner. Everybody's paying. Look, they already said that they're waiting to see what's going on with the NBA. So it's not even the number one thing that they got going on yet. Yes, Kushan Art. I started to stream at 7 o'clock, so I've been talked about the predictions. Vince sponsoring fish and shrimp. Not enough protein, pal. Vince wants you to eat like a live goat or something like that. Eat this goat, pal, packed with protein. All right, let's talk about this. Like I said, UFC getting sued. Wrestling media, or Bloody Elbow, MMA media, more likely. Very excited by this lawsuit, by the way. They've been saying for years that UFC is a monopsony and that, it needs to be, things need to be turned around. Fighters need to get paid more. And then they released all these numbers showing how some fighters were paid very well. Well, the guys that draw were paid very well. We're not going to go through everybody because there's no, I don't want to go through that. That's UFC. It requires me to know more about UFC than I know. But we do know from Bloody Elbow that CM Punk was paid $1,042,736 for his match in 2016. He had one fight in 2016 and got paid over $1 million, which I'm guessing was a bonus for the pay-per-view buys. I think he got $450,000 pay-per-view buys or something like that. $450,000, 450,000 pay-per-view buys. He was paid more than anybody who had ever fought in their first match, which is not bad. Bloody Elbow are a bunch of communists and socialists and such. And I don't say that because I just, I can't argue against them. I say that because they think that everybody on the card should make somewhat near the same money, when that's not true anywhere. It's like you pay people who don't matter. You pay them to show. You pay them to win. But if they aren't on the show, then who cares? You pay the main event guys. They're the people who selling the tickets. And apparently that's what Dana White does. They have a graph. Not as a, I guess you wouldn't call it a graph, but like a step ladder that shows that Ronda Rousey went from making a certain amount of money when she got started to making a lot more money when she became the main event. Now, let me try to find out where that is. Damn, I thought I bookmarked far more than I did. Because they got her pay. She made all total over 7 fights in the UFC. She made over $13 million. $13 million she made in the UFC. Amazing. No wonder she can retire young. And it all happened because at first she didn't matter to the card, and then she became the main event. It was that simple. Crazy how that turns out, right? Here it is. This is from Bloody Elbow's Twitter account. Ronda Rousey's payouts revealed in new UFC court documents. $575,000, rounding up, $575,000 versus Liz Caramouche. $1.8 million versus Misha Tate. $870,000 versus Sarah McCann. Well, I wonder what happened there where she lost over $1 million. Like, what the hell? Almost $1 million in pay. What happened? Then it went back up to $1,064,000 versus Alexis Davis. $1.5 million versus Kat Zingano. $2.6 million versus Bethe Correa. And $4.5 million, or it's still $4.5 million versus Holly Holmes, and $4.9 million versus Amanda Nunes. So she got that cake in them fights. You know, it's amazing. It's and people are just kind of like just randomly saying that, you know, people should get paid more. People should get paid more. Well, in her contract, she got to cut a pay-per-view buys. So here is these same people who, again, are cherry picking information. When you actually look at what they were saying, there was an incentive where she gets a certain amount of money after 200,000 buys, which is basically the floor. If she's the main event and it gets over 200,000 buys, I guess every 200,000 she gets a bump in her pay, which is probably why it ended up being so high near the end, because she was a huge draw. Then it says elsewhere that Brock Lesnar made $8 million for the Mark Hunt fight, in which, you know, Mark Hunt sued and said that everybody knew he was on steroids. So seems like them guys were getting paid pretty well in UFC. But when you compare them to fucking Oscar De La Hoya and not like the average boxer, because they get paid a lot more than the average boxer. And when you got Saudi Arabia giving people randomly $20 million for whatever. I mean, if you got that kind of money, sure, they're not running a business, not really. You can't do that. The difference between boxing and UFC, and it's been explained to these people a lot, is that UFC is a league. They're saying all the money needs to go to the next fight. So UFC 299 has to help pay for not only UFC 300, but UFC 301 has got to go to the marketing, the fighters, the venue, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as it gets bigger, it's probably going to start getting site fees, which is going to help quite a bit, I guess. You know, where people are going to pay UFC to come to their town. That's going to be a benefit, no doubt. But they think it's like boxing where you could just promise people $500 million and then that's it. It's like, this shit is not boxing. It's basically what Dana White told them, is that every boxing fight is going out of business. It's a going out of business sale. There is no next fight. Not really. Not for months and months and months. UFC has to pay people who are not going to sell a great number of tickets. If you want to go back to UFC being once every quarter, and it's pretty much all the same people, then sure, you can pay people $10 million. But they're, again, running a business where they have fights pretty much every weekend. You can't pay 10 people $10 million for no fucking reason at that point. Nobody does that, by the way. Nobody does that. Boxing don't do it. You try to compare Conor McGregor's pay to like Tyson Fury's pay or something like that. I wouldn't, because they're in two different leagues. Tyson Fury is only about Tyson Fury. He doesn't have an umbrella organization that his fight is bringing in money for that is responsible for the next show. A Tyson Fury fight is a Tyson Fury fight. That's it. A Conor McGregor fight is a part of a UFC event. The UFC has to pay for other things. But they never talk about, and I say this literally all the time when I talk to these guys, and I don't talk to them that often, is how much do the gyms take out of this? Like when you talk about a guy making X amount of dollars, how much did he promise to pay his coach? His gym fees, all these other attachments that come with it. How much are those people going to make? 13%, 15% or whatever, 10%? That is why guys they make decent money, but they're broke. You got 100 people clinging on to you. And I know, and it happens in boxing too. I mean, that's why Mike Tyson made so much money, but he ended up broke. You have all these people attaching themselves to you, especially when you're at the top, and you're thinking it's not a big deal because these are big numbers. And then over time, it matters. But I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was very interesting that Ronda Rousey made total. This is gross, of course. We don't know how much she actually took home because we don't know how much she had to pay her coaches and, you know, taxes, because they don't ask about taxes either. Which I'm always stupefied by is how people always say they all about fighter pay and wrestler pay, but nobody wants to talk about cutting their fucking taxes. They don't want to talk about that. You know, something that might actually help them. I'm talking about all of it. You want to pay them more? Great. But how about we let them walk home with more too? Oh no, we can't do that. We can't talk about wrestlers not, you know, MMA fighters shouldn't have to pay taxes everywhere. Same thing with football players and basketball players. Why the fuck are they paying taxes everywhere? Are you surprised that they're broke? You got to pay taxes in every goddamn city and state that they play in. That's crazy. Mike Tyson had to pay taxes in every country that he fought in. That's nuts, bro. That's a lot of taxes, my guy. You know. But nobody wants to ask them. They're going to talk about the gross. How much did you gross? So what? When the government come in and taking 30% or whatever, it don't fucking matter at that point, right? All right. That's all I got. Thank you all for showing up. Everybody who missed the prediction, you're going to have to hit the rewind because we talked about a lot here. And it seemed to work out pretty much the way that I wanted it to. I knew this was going to be long, so I started it early. And we'll probably do a watch along on Sunday. Go over to the Discord and suggest what we should watch because I'm going to be a nerd for the weekend. But when I come back in here on Sunday, I will be ready to watch something. But I'm not going to put a lot of effort into it. I'm not going to lie to you this time. YumaCon is my favorite time of the year. It's my Christmas. Where I go and hang out with all the other blurs. This is the first time might be one of the few times I use the term blurred. Black nerds, for those of you who don't know. I might wear a lucha mask or something like that too. You never know. But all right, thanks everybody for your time. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Hope you enjoy SmackDown and Crown Jewel. Hope nothing crazy happens and everybody walks away with all your 10 fingers and toes when this thing is over. And I'll talk to you guys later. Yes, it's an anime convention, anime and manga. I'm probably going to come in here with a lot of manga and anime. Not anime, manga for sure. Probably some more American comic books too, because they always got some of that stuff too. And since I seem to have a little bit more money than usual, I might buy a fucking sword. No, I'm probably not going to buy a sword. I should, though. All right. Thank you for your time. I'll talk to you guys later.